Ryan was in college, and his thesis work was underway, when something completely changed the course of his life. He couldn't believe what his stepmom had done to him while he was sleeping. On one hand, it felt good and okay, but it also seemed weird to him. Ryan's feelings that day were unpredictable and confused. Ryan lived with his father, who was a businessman, and his stepmom, a housewife. He had no siblings, as he was the only child of his parents. Since he was too busy with his thesis work, his days were nothing short of overwhelming. It was the same hectic day, and he had been working on his thesis for about a week non-stop. When he returned from college after completing his thesis work, his father and stepmom were having dinner. He was so sleepy and heavily exhausted that he couldn't think about anything else besides sleep. Ryan even decided to skip dinner, just so he could sleep right away without anyone disturbing him. He came to the table and said hi to both of his parents. Without any further delay, he just went on to ask his dad if he could skip dinner, as he was exhausted and just wanted to sleep. His father smiled at him and said, "Yes, no worries, just go ahead and sleep." Both parents didn't mind him skipping dinner and understood his situation. After speaking to them, Ryan went straight to his bedroom and jumped into his bed. The idea of getting rest and a peaceful sleep after a long week of hectic work felt great to him. He was just thinking about his parents being cooperative with him, and he soon fell asleep. It felt amazing and comfortable to finally sleep without worries and after so many days. Ryan was half asleep and could sense some of his surroundings. It was the next moment that he felt someone entering his room. It was strange and weird that his stepmom had come to him at this late hour when his dad was asleep too. What did she want from him at this time? Ryan was struggling to figure out the reason. However, he couldn't get up and ask her directly since he was too tired and his eyes were heavy. Even if he wanted to wake up, his mind and eyes were frozen with exhaustion. Ryan tried to let go of these thoughts and labeled her arrival as something trivial. But it wasn't long before he felt a touch at his hand, and it made him a bit suspicious. It was only his stepmom in his room, so it was none other than her who had touched him. Ryan wanted to open his eyes and wake up, but his mind denied doing so. It was all foggy, and that night, everything changed. His stepmom crossed all boundaries and gave up her morality. Ryan, on the other hand, let it happen, feeling good about it, but at the same time, he felt shame and guilt. The next day when he woke up, everything seemed normal. He struggled to make sense of what had happened last night. Was it a dream, or had it happened to him for real? He couldn't decide. Ryan got up and headed downstairs. He could see his stepmom in the kitchen, preparing breakfast. It was strange that she was alone in the kitchen because his dad used to be there early on, but that morning, the dining table was empty. The smell of fresh pancakes alongside eggs and bacon was coming from the kitchen. Ryan looked at his stepmom. She appeared to be calm and normal. She was already looking at him with comfort and a big smile. Ryan felt super confused, yet scared that something might have happened between his father and stepmom, which is why he was nowhere to be seen. A great deal of uneasy thoughts were brewing in his mind, and he was trying to shake them off. From the look of his stepmom, he became sure that last night wasn't a dream, but a reality. He sat on one of the chairs with hesitation and nervousness, but his stepmom acted like nothing unusual had happened, and it was all okay and justified. Ryan, too, began feeling comfortable and thought he was only overthinking. It was nothing major. Ryan ate his breakfast hastily and left for his college. After taking one class, he left college as his professor had to go to a meeting and asked everyone to be prepared tomorrow for their thesis presentations. He was worried about it and had to prepare himself. For that very reason, he went straight to his home and locked himself in his room. He just wanted to put all of his focus on his preparation and didn't want to be distracted by any other thoughts. He had to give his best during his presentation. Ryan knew his father had worked hard day and night for a better future for him. He had to prove to him that he was working with dedication toward his studies, and he would become successful in the near future. He couldn't afford to disappoint him, even a bit. Following some time, Ryan's stepmom entered his room again. He was totally absorbed in his laptop and preparation. He couldn't feel his stepmom standing beside him. But when he felt a touch on his shoulder, he quickly looked at his side and found his stepmom standing. He felt a blend of surprise and confusion. He opened his lips to speak, but before he could do so, she put her index finger on his lips to shush him. She told him that his father would come late because he had a meeting to attend. Soon enough, they lost themselves in the moments, which would later turn out to be reason for shame, guilt, and regret. In the middle of all that, Ryan stopped his stepmom from going any further. All he was thinking about was his beloved father, who had done a lot for him both financially and emotionally. He couldn't deceive him anymore. He told his stepmom that they shouldn't be doing this stuff in the first place. To his surprise, she didn't argue and accepted that he was right. What they were doing wasn't normal. They stopped doing whatever they were doing, only thinking about the bigger picture of the situation, and it made Ryan feel guilty. They promised each other that they wouldn't do any such thing again and wouldn't keep tricking Ryan's father for the sake of their feelings. Just when his stepmom left his room, his dad returned home. It was a close call for both of them. Ryan thanked God that they stopped on time. As time passed, Ryan's internal battle didn't fade away, but rather developed into something far more complex. He started to notice the little details around him. How his father spoke about trust, the silent moments during family dinners when the air was too heavy. Ryan was aware of every look his stepmom threw his way, and every comment she made about him. What was once ordinary conversation between them now stood heavy with meaning. There were nights when Ryan would just lie in bed and stare at the ceiling. He would replay every moment in his mind. It wasn't just the guilt anymore. Now it was about fearing the unknown. What would happen if the truth ever came to light? What if his father had sensed something? What if this secret would one day come out and tear his father apart? The most terrifying part was his own mind, how it was betraying him. Often his thoughts would sway and would question his judgment. What was he thinking that night? Was it really that wrong what they did? Why had he felt drawn into that moment? He hated that these were the thoughts in his head, but they were persistent, always nagging him. He was battling his own self. If Ryan's father had seen them together in his room, it wouldn't turn out well for either of them. After that day, they began living their lives in the same way they used to, forgetting and pushing their guilty memories back. Keeping it a secret between them was the best choice for both Ryan and his stepmom. He saw it as the only chance to keep his dad from knowing the truth and hurting. Although they never spoke about their guilty secret with each other, deep down, they knew things wouldn't be the same between them. Whenever they saw each other, they would think about their past that couldn't be removed, even if they wanted to and try hard. They would silently notice each other's faces, trying to figure out what the other was thinking. There wasn't a choice left. They had to spend the rest of their lives like that.